Hey guys, Paul here. So today I wanted to talk about pack filler in Yu-Gi-Oh packs. These are basically the cards that you pull in packs that you just kind of don't want. More specifically, they're the ones that almost feel like their inclusion is a little bit useless. So I'm not talking about, oh, an archetype card that is like part of a deck you weren't building, but more so, the cards where you just read it and you're like, what does this do, right? Like it's like activate this effect. This monster gains 100 attack points next turn. And it's just kind of like, why does this card exist? What's the point of it? It just feels like it's kind of padding out the pack and keeping you away from the things that you actually want to pull. And understandably, I think people don't really like these cards. It would be ideal, right, that you could just buy a pack and every single card in the pack is exactly like what you wanted. It's exactly, the archetype cards that you wanted, or you pull the triple tactics thrust, the prosperity, whatever the kind of the big staple of the day is, right? Um, Obviously that can't really realistically happen. I mean, I guess there are some solutions that people have proposed, like maybe you can just buy exactly the singles you want direct from Konami. But since the business model involves, buying and opening packs, that's not really going to happen. So what else is there to say then about pack filler cards? Well, as far as what I think about them, I don't like them, but I've kind of come to accept them as the, cost of doing business. Like, it doesn't actually really change the pull rates for there to be bad commons in a set. That part at least makes sense to me, right? Like whether or not I get, the worst random common cards that do nothing doesn't actually change the whole like you're gonna get, one out of what is it, 6 packs is gonna have an ultra, or one out of, X amount of packs is gonna have a secret. That won't actually change. But what would change is maybe like if we could change those weird, bad, like filler cards into something that is perhaps more playable. Like maybe the distribution and card balance should be a little bit better where we're not getting complete useless junk, but instead things that have like some application elsewhere. And when I say application elsewhere, you probably know where I'm getting like what I'm getting into with that. It's that I do think that Yu-Gi-Oh packs have changed a lot in recent years where most packs aren't really designed for draft. So you can't really expect to like use some quirky pseudo staple card in a draft deck because even sneak peeks don't really do draft format anymore. Packs have become so archetype centric and oftentimes so kind of contextualized by the packs around them, right? Like you can't really use the stuff that you get in Phantom Nightmare unless you maybe also got some certain stuff in like Age of Overlord or kind of vice versa or whatever. So usually, a single like set does not actually have like a playable or even pseudo playable deck within it. Sometimes that's the case, but just not often the case. And so it puts the spotlight on these like weird cards that just don't seem like they really do anything and there's not like a draft format for you to use them in. I think that this could be sort of rectified if Konami made packs that were intended to be like draftable, or maybe they made these common staples a little bit better. There are so many cards where I'll read the card and be like, this is okay, except it's a trap card, or like, something like that, right? Or like, this is okay, except that it's like a continuous spell that has to wait until the next turn to like get its advantage flowing from it. And that's really unfortunate because I do think that like these cards have potential. It's just that Yu-Gi-Oh's pacing moves really fast. And so now if a card is not amazing, then it's garbage and there's not really an in-between there. So really what would probably solve some of the pack filler issue is just that having like a lower power format where some of these cards could perhaps see a little bit more play. Is that maybe too optimistic? Don't really know. I mean, like, it just depends. Like, if it's not a low power format, then maybe it is the drafting format itself. That could, like, be a thing. There are also certain cards that I think people see as trash filler that I don't think are necessarily trash filler. Like, there are really some fun gimmick cards that Yu-Gi-Oh will make where clearly the intended purpose is not to actually even be used in a conventional deck, but just to be used in a fun thing. Like there's that one recent monster where like it flips a coin and it like gains attack points and it can keep flipping coins as long as it gets heads. And in theory, if you were lucky enough, you could get an infinite number of heads and just kind of make the duel go on forever and make the judge hate you and your opponent hate you, but your monster's got like 10 billion attack points, so who cares? But I think cards like that are just supposed to be fun jokes. Usually the stuff that involves, flipping coins, rolling dice, playing rock, paper, scissors. I think stuff like that needs to kind of be in there for the culture. I don't know, like just kind of for shits and giggles. It's okay for Yu-Gi-Oh cards to, be sort of quirky and weird. And I do think it's like fun that packs can still maybe sometimes have like a single vanilla card in it. Like I think that just should be a trend that Yu-Gi-Oh always has, is like even if these vanilla cards are never actually practically going to be used, it's just nice to have one in a set. But I do think that when it comes to cards that feel like they are just almost blatantly nerfed by just existing, like their effects just cannot possibly be used in anything, yeah, I'd like a place for those cards to be played. Now, alternatively, some people would say, just take out pack filler, right? If a card's just not going to be good and we don't have a format to play it in, then just take those cards out and then leave the pack at like, instead of 100 card sets, it's like a 50 card set, but all 50 cards are like usable and good. Um, I mean, maybe that could work. I don't think Konami would really like it. I think that part of the business model is that you're supposed to kind of like not care about every single card that you get, because it's like, spinning the gacha. You're going to get some useless pulls, and then like, you're kind of pining for the one really good thing that, you're like looking for. So that's I don't think that those cards need to go. I think that they kind of add a little bit of excitement to Yu-Gi-Oh! Is that like it, because so many cards are bad, it makes when you pull the good card like feel good. Still, though, I think I'm maybe just being too optimistic here. Like, I'm maybe like giving too much credit to like the magic of opening packs, because there is a more realistic, grounded conversation to be had, right? Yu-Gi-Oh players really just buy singles. There's been a pretty steady decline, at least in my observation, of people even buying packs these days. Like, I don't think that people really want to buy like single packs. They want to buy just singles. And it shows at card shops. A lot of card shop owners I've spoken to say that like Yu-Gi-Oh packs don't really sell very well, because players are just more interested in getting the singles, and they feel that, paying $4 for a pack where you're just not going to pull anything good doesn't feel, it's not really very fulfilling. It's not a great value proposition, especially compared to maybe a game like Pokemon that's a little bit more collectible, or, Magic the Gathering, where it feels like more cards have like a purpose. Although I've heard mixed things about that from Magic players. Like some people say there's plenty of trash filler in those too. So, you know, I I don't know. Like, I think that the filler isn't the issue. I think it's probably just something like the pull rates. Like, those bad commons are going to be bad commons regardless. But I think that maybe just increasing the likelihood that you'll get a secret or an ultra, even if it's just slightly, could probably make a bigger difference for people. Like, for instance, right now, if you buy a box of like Phantom Nightmare or Legacy Destruction that's coming out soon, you'll on average be getting 2 secret rares and 4 ultra rares in a box. So what that basically tells us is what? That the ratio of pulling like a secret in a single pack is 1 in 12, and pulling an ultra is like 1 in 6. So maybe, I mean, they could slightly increase that ratio a little bit, just where it feels like the value of buying a pack is slightly higher. It doesn't change the pack filler problem. I think the pack filler problem just comes from like Yu-Gi-Oh's general game balance. But I think that the rarity and kind of perceived value proposition of simply buying a pack has less to do with bad filler and more to do with, you know, like card rarity stuff, if that like makes any sense. But anyways, I would like to hear what people think about this. Like, do you find pack filler to be an annoyance? I really do want to emphasize that I don't find like, bad comments to be an annoyance, because they're just easy to skip over. And there are even people who actually like when I like will do product openings and like we'll read the cards one by one and kind of take it slow. There are a lot of channels that like kind of just zip through the cards, right? It's just like, oh, is there a foil? What's the foil? What's the foil? Don't care. Move on. I mean, I don't mind like reading card names, looking at card art. I think that stuff can be really cool and it does have a place. So I'm not really anti-pack filler. I just think that better pull rates on things, mainline sets, and also even some side sets like the Valiant Smashers, those sorts of sets, you could improve that a little bit and you'd really get a better result. And I think people would be more tolerant of the pack filler trash. But I do think that the pack filler trash could be just better designed to be played in a low power format. That doesn't exist. But still, if that existed, then that would justify its existence. So I don't want to get rid of pack filler. I just want pack filler to maybe have a place where it can be used. And yeah. Okay, anyways, that's enough. I think I've rambled on enough about this topic. I'm not even making any more sense at this point. Let me know what you guys think about it down in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next one. Pass turn.